Buying tickets to sports and concerts can be complicated, but there is a better way to buy with SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the smartest, easiest way to get tickets to every type of live event. And right now, get $20 off your first purchase. Just download the SeatGeek app and enter promo code WINGO today.
It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2. She's Elle Duncan. I'm Jason Fitz. We're in for the guys. You can tweet the show. I'm almost afraid to keep giving it out. You can tweet the show using the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed at Golic and Wingo, at Jason Fitz, and at Elle Duncan. And we'll get to this in just 1 second. But a shameless plug for both of us. We are both involved in a cool project that we should tell the world about. SportsCenter on Snapchat. So if you have Snapchat, you can go out and see Elle like basically all the time on the show.
You do the show more than I do.
Oh, no. But you were spectacular at it.
So are you. We
you.
both. I do the day show, which airs at 5 p.m., and you do the night show at 5 a.m.
Yes.
And they're cool because they're both two totally different kinds of shows, and everybody that does it, Katie Nolan and Cy Amundsen, everybody that is involved kind of does their own thing, and it's pretty good. And listen, to some of you haters out there, if you can only consume me for 2 to 3 minutes at a time, it's perfect because that's how long the whole show is. I'm palatable for at least that long.
Oh, well, I mean, depends on the day. I'm kidding.
That's true. That's very true.
Let's get into what's trending. Keep you updated on everything going on. We were talking about it earlier. Former Steelers James Harrison was released Saturday, cleared waivers Monday, scooped up Tuesday by the Patriots. They've been thin at defensive end and outside linebacker for most of the season, so they make the pickup. And that's all Elle has to say about that.
It's a fun story. Like, everyone's talking about the tweet. You know, he's tweeting, a teammate that's older than me. Like, yay, because Tom Brady's 40. Let's talk about that. How good is this guy at 40 years old, Fitz? I mean, it's incredible. No one's talking about this story.
Why do you say 40 like it's old?
Still good at 40.
I'm in the room, Elle. Some of us just turned 40 this year. Good.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you so much.
40 Club.
Thank you. In other big trending news right now, Giants safety Landon Collins had some harsh words for his teammate Eli Apple on the Michael Kay show. This is the quote everybody's running around. That first pick, he's a cancer. And that just sums it up the best way. I mean, he goes off and says that he's the one person, Eli Apple would be the one person he would change in their secondary group. Strong words from a Pro Bowl caliber player.
There are also reports that his mom, Annie Apple, who full disclosure, does some work for us, also for Sports Illustrated, had surgery on her brain this offseason, and that her and his stepdad, who they've been together since I believe he was like 2 years old, divorced this May, and that he doesn't have a relationship with his stepfather anymore, and that's weighing on him. His stepfather was really integral in his football career, was at every game, and that they haven't talked in months, so that a lot of personal issues could be at play, coupled with the fact that maybe he just has some maturing to do.
And I think that there's a point where we don't know yet enough information to know what we've heard from everybody but Eli Apple in this situation. I'll be interested to hear from him because I think it will tell a lot of us what's going on. And I will, again, as I said at the beginning of the show, as somebody that's in the process of moving from Nashville to Bristol, Connecticut, for a dream situation, for all of you haters, you can check out the Spain and Fitz show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern. But I'm moving to Bristol. It's amazing how it distracts everything in life when you're going through something where you're trying to navigate uncharted waters. So I guess maybe I have a little bit more real life sympathy for whatever may be happening. Until we hear what's happening, I don't want to jump on a kid.
It's unorthodox for someone to blatantly come out a teammate and say this guy's a cancer. But we work with former athletes, and we work with athletes all the time who will tell us off the record, this guy was awful to work with. So he wouldn't be the first guy who isn't a locker room guy to have a long, illustrious career. He's just got to get it together on the field. People tend to be able to deal with a cancer better if they're performing.
It's amazing how it's amazing. And the last trending topic of the day, important for us, we just told you about Snapchat. Serena Williams, 2017 Snapchatter of the Year. Do you think if we combined all of our Snapchat forces, like me, you, Katie Nolan, Cy, like we get all of us together, like Voltron, show my age, could we be the Snapchatter of the Year next year?
Hell no.
Okay.
Not over Serena.
Well, that's fair.
She's Serena. It's Queen Serena.
Is there a phrase the kids use for a really great Snapchat?
I wouldn't know.
I mean, her Snapchat is super Yippity?
It's snapping.
I'm snapping. Oh, I like
snapping.
that. It's snapping. Like,
it's tapping. I don't know. I'm
my
using
God.
34-year-old lingo, so I'm not really sure either. I just am now realizing we're pretty old to be on Snapchat.
Yeah, you're just not realizing that?
Wow.
Full disclosure
they
here.
picked us.
Full disclosure here. When they were like, "Hey, Snapchat," I was like, "Awesome." Call one of my friends, and I'm like, "How does Snapchat work?"
Oh,
like,
I downloaded it when they said I was going to start doing the show.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt.
Perfect download.
Like, I'm all over, but I do love it. I love it as a medium. I've actually become quite hooked on it as a great way to get news because it comes in quick bursts.
I was going to say, I was always a fan of kind of the way that we did it by getting like news and information, and I watched the E! Show. I'm not a big filter Snapchatter. Like, I'm not really the puppy filter girl or there's the underwater mermaid one now. That's not really my thing.
If you are like Trey or Golic Jr., you can get away with like the little cat filters or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot. That's just fair point.
Yeah.
You know who could get away with Phil? That's what's trending, by the way. That gets you caught up on some of what's trending. There's one guy I think that could get away with all the filters in the entire world. And can give us some thoughts on maybe what the Patriots are doing here in the signing of James Harrison. Field Yates, ESPN NFL insider, joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. You can get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program now at fuelrewards.com/gold. So, Field, your Snapchat game on a scale of 1 to 10, do we have a Snapchat game from Field Yates?
Pretty weak, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. Pretty weak. But here's what I would say is I'm not one to produce many Snapchats. I will consume a handful of Snapchats every once in a while. And one thing that I have not done since I started Snapchatting was turn off the filter or turn off the setting that allows people to send you a snap, even if you don't follow them. So mostly during the football season, I get like, hey, man, who should I start? Tom Brady or Russell Wilson on Sunday? So that's really the extent of my Snapchat consumption. So I guess I'm a letdown. What can I say?
Well, Field, first and foremost, SportsCenter on Snapchat, 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. It's on your Discover page. You can get to it right there. But then
I've watched that.
The other part of this is there for you, is it a little like being a doctor when you're Field Yates? Every time you walk into a party, somebody's like, Field, who should I start?
I tell you what, people are like, what do you, I kept getting this question a lot leading up to the holidays. Like, what do you want for Christmas? And first of all, I'm a 30-year-old man. Like, I don't need Christmas gifts per se. Like, hey, if you want to get me that one coat I needed or something like that, like, I wouldn't hate it. But at the same time, like, my wish list has that's largely a thing of my past. But I say, I'm just ready for the football season to be over so that I don't have to have people asking me every 5 seconds exactly what you just laid out there. And especially when it's like most of the time, that same exact question could be answered by just merely going online to the page that has our rankings each and every week. But you know something? It's a part of the business. And listen, I say that somewhat tongue-in-cheek. We love what we do here at ESPN. As we always say, it beats having a real job, right?
Field, can I just say that you hit on something that resonates with me so much, and it isn't from the fantasy perspective. Field, thank you for saying that as grown-ass people, we don't need gifts anymore. I'm a very low-maintenance friend and family member. I think that the Christmas gift should be relegated for the children. I don't want to give you anything, 35-year-old cousin, so don't give me anything because then I feel obligated. Why are we exchanging gifts?
No.
Your husband, your spouse, your significant other, they give you a gift, fine. But I don't need a gift from my auntie, from my mom and dad, from my cousin, from my sister-in-law. I don't need any of those gifts.
I don't even know what to say to either of you anymore. You're killing
I was
Christmas.
going to say, Al, I'm going to bring the gift that I purchased for you. I guess I won't bring it to work.
No, bring him to me, Field.
For the past couple of days. Yeah, I got you guys. I'm trying to think of what I got. A set of, I don't know, Tupperware or something. I'm trying to think of like the most useless gift that you guys probably already have in spades.
No, but as a grown-up, I can actually use that. I can use Tupperware. Okay. A vacuum sealer, things like that I'll use.
Watch this segue. So here's the question for you, Field. If you just gave James Harrison to the Patriots for Christmas, can they use him?
Well done.
He just threw the pin down, by the way.
Golf clap for Fitz. Golf clap for you. Here's what I would say. I've had a lot of people wondering, was the intent of signing James Harrison to, what was the goal? What's the end game here for the Patriots? And if you look closely at what this all boiled down to for the Patriots, is like James Harrison signing with the Patriots is basically a no-risk proposition for either side. It felt like, and I think we'll get more and more information on this, it was a pretty bitter breakup between the Steelers and James Harrison. I know people were saying, like, yeah, of course, they cut him. When is it not a bitter breakup? But for those who aren't familiar with the NFL's waiver system, you can cut a guy and then bring him back like 48 hours later, no harm, no foul. And some people thought that might have been the outcome with James Harrison in Pittsburgh. But for the Patriots, you sign him, and if he plays 15, 20 snaps, like that right there is probably a win. This is a team that's been impacted by injuries, as every NFL team has, and doesn't have a bunch of pass rushers. They've got a really good player in Trey Flowers, and they've got a nice young piece in Dietrich Wise. But they're playing a guy in Eric Lee who was signed off the practice squad from Buffalo like 6 weeks ago. He's playing like 50 snaps a game. So James Harrison, certainly not a guy you have to worry about, understanding the nuances of the game. He's going to come in and probably be able to provide you, 15 to 20 snaps a game. And remember, this is a signing the Patriots are hopeful has utility for 4 games. That's it. 4 games. They're hopeful to play into February, and James Harrison give them that.
Okay, but Field, if and listen, I'm well aware of who James Harrison is and was and all of those things, but if James Harrison was such a viable threat, at least as an edge rusher, for a team, as you mentioned, that definitely needs it, then why did he have like 40 snaps in 14 games for the Steelers? Is it because they were solid there, or do they know something that maybe the Patriots don't know?
Oh, trust me, that's a very fair question, Alan. I think that, asking 15 snaps a game for James Harrison, maybe that's wishful thinking. And maybe it's also where he plays 15 snaps in one game for the Patriots, and that's enough to justify the investment for them for a back end of the roster spot. But part of it is, I'd certainly say, part of Pittsburgh's equation was that they have a fine young rookie in T.J. Watt that played the same position as James Harrison, and T.J. Watt has been maybe not quite what his brother is at the pro level in JJ, but he has been fantastic as a rookie. So I think that's a big part of it, yes. And, when you're not playing on special teams like James Harrison wasn't for Pittsburgh, all of a sudden the team is saying, all right, are you expendable because you are basically, a veteran backup for us? So maybe, just maybe, the Patriots are, my projecting that the Patriots want 15 to 20 snaps a game out of James Harrison is optimistic. But for them, again, they probably sign him, we'll find out this morning, to a minimum money deal that, let's say, it doesn't work out after 10 days. They say, thanks, James. At least you got that great Instagram post with Tom Brady that we all saw yesterday evening.
Exactly.
But I think in the end, I don't think the Patriots, by any stretch, are planning on this being like a quick in, quick out experience for James Harrison. I think they would like to have him around for as long as their season goes.
ESPN NFL insider Field Yates joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. She's Elle Duncan. I'm Jason Fitz, in for Golic and Wingo. So let's, speaking of impacting games, let's get to another team in the AFC playoff race. DeMarco Murray looks like a third-degree MCL tear, according to Adam Schefter. Hopes to play through it. What does this do to the Titans' playoff chances in your mind?
Fitz, I'm not sure it does much, to be honest with you. This is a game that obviously they win, they're in. And they play the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday, and Jacksonville has said it's going to play its starters, despite the fact that Jacksonville is locked into that third seed. But the reason why I say it may not mean much is I know a lot of people, and this sort of harkens back to my fantasy football community, wonder why is Derrick Henry not leading the Titans in running back touches every single week. Derrick Henry, of course, one of like the 8,000 Alabama running backs that have been drafted over the past 4 years, and Derrick Henry is uniquely gifted. He's a player that probably would start for 20 NFL teams, and yet he is a true backup or true number 2 running back in Tennessee. That's not to take anything away from DeMarco Murray, but even if DeMarco Murray does play, I hear third degree, and I think to myself, regardless of the nature of the injury, it's probably pretty significant. You don't need a guy that's hobbling on the field in Week 17. What you need is a player in Derrick Henry who's got relatively fresh legs, 240 pounds, and can bowl over defenders. And Tennessee may not be a team that scares a lot of people if they make it to the playoffs, but there is something to be said for a franchise that hasn't been there in a while to make the postseason if they can win on Sunday.
Yeah, it's been quite a while. 2009, I believe, since the Titans have been in the playoffs. But if you're looking ahead, too, I mean, is it also contingent on the team that they're playing? Do you think Field is like if you're playing the Browns and well, never mind, because the one part of the Browns that's actually good is their defense. Okay, let's say you're playing like one of the lower defenses in the league, right? Like maybe you're playing the Bucs defense. Does that change whether you'd let DeMarco Murray get a few touches? I mean, you're facing the best defense in the league. Is there concerns there specific to opponent?
Yeah, it could be that like they feel as though, hey, having DeMarco Murray at 50% or 70% or whatever the percentage may be, at least have him, like maybe he gives us 5 snaps that he is, 5 particular plays in the playbook that he is, best equipped to handle, better than even Derrick Henry. And you're right, it is last Sunday notwithstanding, a dominant defensive front with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And, I also wonder, and maybe Fitz would know this, certainly being, having strong Nashville ties, is it like this is an influential guy in that locker room, and DeMarco Murray? Like, I wonder how much of this is DeMarco wanting to play himself. DeMarco is a player that has that sort of a topsy-turvy last 5 years in the NFL. It goes from king in the NFL in terms of rushing to Philadelphia and then quickly cast off, and maybe he's pushing to play. And Mike Mularkey, their head coach, certainly is a guy that has always valued and leaned heavily on his veteran players. That goes back to his time as the offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh with Jerome Bettis as his lead back. So maybe this is just this is Murray sort of lobbying to play on Sunday. And ultimately, whether he does or does not play, I think Derrick Henry is probably still going to be the most effective back and the most heavily worked back on Sunday for Tennessee.
Fantastic stuff. And Field, to your point, I think that, having been around the Titans so much over the last few years, there is a connection between Mularkey and Murray that is undeniable. And that seems to be, they're linked at the hip. They've chosen to do that. So it makes a lot of sense. Field, awesome stuff as always, guys. Follow him on Twitter at Field Yates, NFL Insider. We appreciate your time, man.
All right, guys. Same to you.
So Field also mentioned something there I want to ask you about, because this Titans conversation brings up something else, and we haven't even discussed this, so I don't know where you fall on it. But the Titans are going to play a Jags team that have made it apparent they're not resting starters, when this game really means nothing to their standing. On the other side of it, you have a Rams team that's essentially saying, "Well, we'll see. We're not really sure." I'm not sure why the Jags risk any injury in a game that's meaningless to them, right? I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
I totally agree, especially because they're not going to have a first-round bye. So they're going to have to play next week. And I think as well, I don't whenever someone comes out ahead of time and says we're not going to rest our starters, they also don't come out and say they're going to play the whole game either.
Right.
So we see this happen quite a bit, right? Maybe they'll take a couple series just because they want to, same thing. They want to go through the game motions and kind of continue, especially for a Jaguars team who hasn't been to the playoffs. None of these guys on this team have ever been to the playoffs, at least as a member of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so maybe it's just that they want to go through the same motions and the same pregame. I can't imagine that you're going to see your starters in the third or fourth quarter of this game, and possibly not deep into the second either.
But it just sort of boggles my mind, because I remember last year, Christmas Eve, and the Raiders were still obviously in a huge playoff battle at the time. They needed every win. But watching Derek Carr go down was the equivalent of I watched the season go away.
Sure.
And you looked at it and said, well, I literally looked at my family on Christmas Eve and said, well, it was a fun year, because you knew at that point it was over. And I'm thinking, I realized that the Jags don't have that. Like, they're not relying on a Blake Bortles situation. They've got a team built that I think there's enough pieces there that maybe they're not concerned about one guy. They don't have a franchise quarterback that might go down. But Leonard Fournette has missed some time this year. His foot has been an issue at times this year.
Injuries have always been an injury for Fournette.
And I think that at some point you look back and say, I don't know if it makes a ton of sense if you've got this juggernaut team to play these guys. I mean, I know that smacks in the face of competitive nature, but one goes down and it changes the whole run, especially for a fan base that hasn't seen a playoff run in so long. I mean, I think the Jags owe it to their fans to sit everybody.
I totally agree. So this is not a home game either. This is in Nashville. I would agree. Now, what do we always do in this situation though? Hindsight's always 20/20, and you're damned when you do and you're damned if you don't. Because if they don't start anybody and they rest everyone and they come out in that first playoff game and then they're rusty as hell, what are we going to say? Well, you should have played them. You gave them too much time off. You should have kept the momentum going. And
that's
if
fair.
someone comes out and gets hurt, that's always an option, right? That anytime you play, and they don't have enough guys to not play any starters at all.
Right.
But I like I said, I don't think that they're going to play the whole game. You've just got to kind of hope that luck is on your side and you don't get anybody injured in the first quarter and a half.
Well, and the Titans should be thankful that, they just don't have that sort of rivalry that they had in the late 90s, early 2000s with Jacksonville. Because at that time I could have seen, the Jags heaping everybody in just to keep the Titans out. They were so competitive. But now, I don't know that exists. Now, the NFL has done something curious. They've moved a bunch of games around. They've moved a few games around. They've stacked all of the playoff implication games into the later slot in the day, 4:15 Eastern. John Harbaugh, not happy about it. This is what he had to say.
I don't know what the considerations are at the league office and why they do what they do, and I really don't care, other than the fact that, hope our fans are okay with it. Hope they're into it. Hope people get there. The people that have plans, I hope they give their tickets to somebody else so they get there and want the place to be packed. I want the place to be packed and loud. I don't think the NFL did us any favors by moving it back, but they don't care about us, so we just got to care about ourselves. We got to take care of our own business.
It stuns me, he says, I want the place to be packed and loud. And this comes on the heels of the Ravens owner writing a letter to fans saying, hey, guys, we really need you in the stadium for this fantastic team. This is a team that has the opportunity. They win and they're in. And I feel like it's interesting to me that we're hearing a coach essentially beg for the city to care for a team that wins and they're in the playoffs in Baltimore, which is a fan base that is rabid. Baltimore Ravens fans, I'm shocked that there's a concern about their investment of time because it's New Year's Eve when it's a team at home that can win and they're in the playoffs.
Exactly. Especially a team that just a couple of years ago, a few years ago now, but just a few years ago won a Super Bowl. But doesn't this speak kind of to the fact that the Ravens numbers have been down altogether? And I'm not buying that it's the anthem stuff. They took a knee for 1 week in week 2. That's not what that's about. Largely, at the beginning of the year, the product they were putting out, specifically on offense, was god-awful. It was trash. And the fact that they have turned their season around and are primed for a playoff run, in particular in an AFC that's pretty weak. So you would imagine, there's outside of the Patriots, who are always the front runner, there's a lot of parity in the AFC. So it's not like the Ravens can't sneak in like they did back in 2011 when they won the Super Bowl as a wild card and make a little run here. So it is a bit surprising to me.
It's the entire conversation piece, and we'll get into later on in the show a little bit about what the NFL is saying with these games. But the fact that the Ravens seem to be so fearful that their fans won't support a game just because it's on New Year's Eve is stunning to me. I've been in that stadium on Christmas week years ago. I went to see the Ravens in Baltimore, and I was sitting in a season ticket area where they were all bringing presents for each other, against your rules, I know, but they were all bringing presents to each other, and there was like this camaraderie, and people were tailgating. It was freezing. It was gross. People were still tailgating for hours. It was passion. You could feel it. I'm stunned to hear that a team that has the opportunity to win and they get in is having some sort of concern about their fans' ability to care.
Life happens. With ADT, you can feel safe with an ADT starter kit professionally installed for only $49. Call today and install an ADT starter kit that includes security panel, keypad, key fob, entry and motion sensors, and for a limited time, get a camera included and installed at no additional cost. That's a $449 value installed for just $49.
Requires 36-month monitoring contract, QSB, and EasyPay activation. Early term fees may apply. Certain marks excluded. License available at ADT.com. Florida EF001121, UZ F1639.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha. Night. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
For those of you guys that are not watching on television, Elle Duncan, Jason Fitz, and for Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, it would behoove you to turn to ESPN2 and see whatever Fitz just did to the song.
I danced. When I read correctly,
Is that
I dance. Yeah, that's just the arms in the air. The funny thing is that my wife, for many years, danced and was a choreographer and a singer and all these things, and she's spectacular. And at different times in my life where I've had to do different things, I toured for years in a band, and when they decided to introduce us, they were like, "Hey, let's do something fun." And I was like, "Well, great, I'll dance." And everybody was like, "Well, you can't dance." And I said, "That's the point." So night in and night out, I did the world's worst dancing. I tried the worm once and landed straight on my face.
Oh wow, that's ambitious, yo.
Yeah. No, and 25, 30,000 people. The bigger the crowd, the worse my dance moves. And my wife constantly was like, I can show you some stuff." I'm like, No.
I'm just embracing all of this terrible dancing.
Sweet moves on ESPN too. That's
Part of the rhythmless nation. I like it.
Oh, I have rhythm, all right? I can subdivide beats all day. I just can't dance. She's Elle Duncan. I'm Jason Fitz in for Golic and Wingo. Obviously, you can tweet the show. I'm scared of saying this, but you can tweet the show using the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed at Golic and Wingo, at Jason Fitz, and at Elle Duncan ESPN. Going to start giving out like Wingo and Golic's Twitter so that they get some of this love.
I was going to say it's fine because our fantastic crew only clips off the nice tweets.
Yeah, they
never make us answer that's why there's only 3 on each page, because it's like, well, let's comb through this plethora of trash tweets and let's get to a couple just not evil ones where someone told you to play in traffic. Elle, let's see.
You got to play in traffic?
Oh yeah.
I wish the plane had crashed with you on it. That was my favorite one so far this morning.
Tis the season.
You guys.
Merry Christmas.
I feel like we're sort of like Buddy the Elf. And a lot of you guys on Twitter are the raccoon. Like, we're just going in for a hug, and all of a sudden, bam, it doesn't go well.
It's all good. Listen, it wouldn't be Twitter if it wasn't undefeated at being a troll. I did want to answer Sean's question, though. And I'm going to answer this. I'm going to ask you a question because I know that you are a musical genius.
Well, I mean, you said it.
So this guy, Sean Hill, asked me he heard me reference that I'd like for you guys to play some Migos or, just to keep, because I'm from Atlanta. And he said, who's your favorite rapper of all time? And I responded, and I don't know if you know who this is, I responded with 3 stacks all day. 3 stacks.
No, you're going to have to give me one of those 3-stack jams.
Okay, Andre 3000.
Oh, okay, yeah. There we go.
Right.
See, you put it in normal lingo, and I've got it, all right? I need Wingo lingo to be able to get any of these things.
Okay.
Like, I need like, dad lingo all the way. So 3 stacks.
Yes,
That's
Andre 3000 of Outkast is my favorite rapper of all time.
Really?
Have you ever heard him? I mean, God.
Yeah. But I mean, personally, for impact in the game in so many different rappers, Dre would be much higher for me.
Okay.
And I would also take Tupac.
Here's the thing. Dre is an amazing producer. Dre was not known for being an amazing rapper.
Right. And that's a fair point.
Right. Like when you think about some of the greatest verses of all time, it's not necessarily Dre. Maybe some of the greatest beats, some of the greatest producing and composition of songs. But I'm also from Atlanta, so I'm looking at it through that kind of bias and that prism.
Dre, I think there were pieces of the structure of what rap looks like that I feel like Dre really revolutionized. And then to your point, that maybe he's not the guy that you want carrying everything, but he's made his life out of guest appearances, I feel like. But sure. You'll have all of these guys that are just doing all that they can, and then he comes in and effortlessly does it better. So I think that's why it stands out to me. Like, even though he's maybe not the guy I want carrying the ball 30 times, when he does carry the ball, he scores touchdowns.
The question was not who's the best rapper of all time, who's your favorite. So who's your favorite?
My favorite rapper of all time is Dre.
Dre. Okay.
Tupac is going to be up there for
Pac's
me too.
Got to be up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I went to high school outside of Baltimore in a very rap centered area. So there was a lot of like NWA. It was a big deal in my high school. Your favorite country singer, Elle?
Actually, don't laugh. I'm from Georgia. I grew up on country music. I don't know new stuff. I couldn't pick a Luke Bryan song out of a lineup. But I have seen Tim McGraw in concert 3 times. And I loved Faith Hill growing up too. Also a big Martina McBride fan. I think Happy Girl is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Humble brags. I played on one of Martina's records, and I toured with McGraw for a long time. We were out on the McGraw tour for like a year and a half. There you go. There you go.
There we go. We're reaching across the aisle, and you know rap, and I know country.
Look at that. Oh, I don't know where this got off the rails. I'm not even going to look at Twitter right now because Stick to Sports guy is like his brain is exploding. So let's the next question. We'll get the next question brought to you by Indeed.com. Post your next job opening on the world's #1 job site, Indeed.com. So, next question. Would you rather have the 1 and 2 seed in the NFC or the 3rd and 4th? So would you rather have, if you're going to look at this, would you have the Eagles and Vikings or Rams and Saints?
Which one would I rather be, or which one would I rather play?
Right now, I got to ask you which one you're going to pick. You got to take one. You take one grouping that you think can represent the NFC. You're either going to take the first grouping, Eagles, Vikings, or the second grouping, Rams and Saints.
Oh God, I mean, that's not fair though. I'm going to have to go with the second grouping because I'm sorry, but the Eagles aren't the same with Nick Foles. I just can't. If like before pre-Carson Wentz injury, I'd go 1-2. But Saints, always fun to watch. Rams, I'm going to go 3-4. What about you?
As just pointed out, by the way, it's called Next Question, not Easy Question. Okay, we're going to get challenging here. I'm absolutely going 3 and 4 because I can't back off of my point I made a couple weeks ago, hanging out on ESPN Radio, that only one of those teams has a quarterback, we have any idea how they play in the playoffs, and that's the Saints.
Yep.
So while I don't think the Saints are necessarily the best team in the NFC, if I have to ask, if you're asking me Drew Brees or the field, and the field includes Foles, Case Keenum, or Goff, I'm all in on Brees. So I take the 3-4 grouping.
And I'll raise your Drew Brees and say, I'm just all in on that backfield. Are you kidding me? Ingram and Kamara?
Yeah.
Oh, they're so fun to watch.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, so the next one, true, false. After watching the Cavs and Warriors on Christmas, you're rooting for another finals rematch.
False.
Ooh.
False. It doesn't have anything to do with Christmas. It was a great game and all. I want to see some. I'm ADD. I get bored. I love the whole. It could be the fourth year. I don't care. I would like to see the Rockets, and eat Rockets and Cavs or Rockets and Celtics.
I love that. You know what? We are so in agreement today. I'm with you. I think that I think we need something new. I think it's time for some sort of a change there to be exciting. The Rockets right now are playing, I think, exciting basketball. I like that. The Celtics, obviously, it's a nice story when you lose one of the big pieces from the free agency and you get it. I was sort of hoping that somehow magically the 76ers would go on a run because all the guys that hate dream teams can come in and say, but look at this team. It was done the right way. So,
by tanking for years.
I'm always,
the right way.
I want to trust the process. I know it's not going to happen, but.
You know what I want more than anything, Fitz? I want competitive conference finals. Like, I'm excited for the final, which is typically pretty good, pretty fun. I want competitive conference finals. I'm tired of the Warriors and the Cavs just rolling over everyone. So if we get competitive conference finals and we still end up with the Warriors and Cavs, I'm okay with that because I'm just tired of seeing these teams roll through the playoffs en route to the finals.
And frankly, that applies to all sports for me. There's a piece of me that I'm far more excited to watch Georgia, Oklahoma in the college football playoff than I am Clemson and Alabama. Even though I think Clemson and Alabama is going to be a spectacular game, I feel like I see that every year. So I'm just a little bit like, meh.
Yeah.
Same as where I am if I get an AFC championship that's Steelers, Patriots. I just,
likely.
Well, I know. Thanks for reminding me.
Get ready.
So, next up, which NFL star that missed time this season deserves the MVP the most? Antonio Brown or Carson Wentz?
Ooh. Antonio Brown is putting up some numbers. Listen, in the whole interest of what we just said, and I'm tired of quarterbacks always getting it, even though Carson Wentz is very deserving. I'm going to go with Antonio Brown, especially because, again, the numbers that he's putting up in a very Antonio Brown fashion, but he's even trumping what he does. I'll go with AB. What about you?
Your opinions are trash and you know nothing. It's obviously Carson Wentz because I watched the Eagles offense, and we can all sit here and try and find a reason why Nick Foles is going to just make this whole thing pretty and we can all be happy about it. Yeah, I'm not in on that at all.
Either.
I mean, and again, I will say I watched Monday night, Christmas night, and I'm like, I'm going to watch the Raiders. Only got a couple games left. And the Raiders secondary particularly is just hot garbage as a lifelong diehard. I feel like I can be honest. It's hot garbage. And they managed to hold their own. So I'm looking at it thinking, I don't feel good about this at all. So, if I'm the Eagles, you ask yourself at this point, who do you think has a better shot at going to the Super Bowl right now, the Eagles or the Steelers? That's not on the true or false. On the next question. I'm just making that up. I feel better about the Steelers today than I do about the Eagles.
As you should.
So that to me means that Carson Wentz, better MVP candidate.
Okay.
All right. So next up, Landon Collins calling Eli Apple a cancer is.
Can I use 2 words?
Yeah. We'll let you have 2.
Maybe necessary. I said this before. Maybe this is the last-ditch effort to, wake this kid up. I don't know how many conversations that they've had in the locker room. Landon Collins says that they've had conversations. Eli Apple was like fake news. I don't really know what's going on. But this is extreme. And if you go publicly and call someone out specifically and call them a cancer that's part of your secondary, maybe this is tough love.
And I'm going to say to that end, I'm going to give a 3-word answer. Calling Apple a cancer is good for everyone. All right. Okay. Because if he is a cancer, then he needs to hear it, right? If it's the motivating factor that forces them to part ways, but it helps Eli Apple turn his life around, turn his what we don't see around, and if it helps him get somewhere where he can actually reset, that's good for Eli Apple. If he is in fact a cancer, and you got to trust Landon Collins at this point, he's perceived at least to be a leader. If he is in fact a cancer, eliminating the cancer will help the locker room for the Giants. So this could turn out to be a win for everyone. The kick in the butt that Eli Apple needs to turn around and sort of reset himself, and another piece that just needs to be gone from the Giants.
This is what we like to call a come to Jesus meeting.
No, I like that. I like that. True, false, the NBA has a replay problem.
The NBA or the NFL?
Well, the NBA is the question.
I think the NFL has a replay problem. I think the NFL don't know what they're doing with replay. But all right, NBA replay.
The number of replays. Do you have a problem with the
how many there are? Is that the question specifically?
I think that's where we're going. Yeah, the number. I mean, we're looking at a video of everybody just standing around trying to figure out what's right, what's not, what's right, what's not.
Yeah, I think my problem with NBA replays is that they replay things that are just seem very clear. Like it's not the size of a football field. You know, there's a few of you. You should be able to catch some of these things. Possession, like that kind of stuff gets on my nerves. And also flagrants. Okay, so yeah, I think I just answered my own question.
I had to pull it out. No, I look at it. I don't have a problem with it at all. I mean, ultimately, what I want is for officiating to be right. That goes back to my show me the numbers, get it right. I don't care if it adds 3 minutes to your game experience. Are you really so busy that you can't give the NBA 3 more minutes while they get a call right? And as much as you might say right now that it's an injustice if they don't figure out a way to get it faster, the first time it affects an NBA final game and first time it affects who takes home a trophy, everybody will be like, why didn't the NBA fix this? You know,
so fine. I'll give you that then with possessions because that is huge. I don't like when they replay every single foul just to check to see if it was flagrant. Did it look flagrant at the time? If it didn't, when you slow it down, did you notice that his hand maybe whapped him in the face? I mean, everything looks different once you slow it down. And I don't like that they replay every single foul just to see if they can eject someone or give them a technical. I don't like that.
Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
James Harrison signed with the Patriots on Tuesday. We're putting him in the zone. He's only played 40 snaps so far this season, but the expectations from our Patriots reporter, Mike Rice, is that he'll be on the field on Sunday and will be on the field for a significant amount of snaps. So James Harrison is in the zone, brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone. AutoZone. It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. She's Elle Duncan. I'm Jason Fitz. We're in for the guys today. And that's interesting. I did have the James Harrison. We'll get to we have a New Year's resolution thing here, but I did have somebody tweet, we're forgetting what this James Harrison thing is really about. He's a double agent going to the Patriots so that he can report back to the Steelers.
Okay.
That is some deep conspiracy theory there, but
that's a real reach. That is a super reach.
That guy has a whole bookshelf full of Nobody Landed on the Moon books. Like they're all there. He's dedicating all of his time on the internet to like conspiracy theories about no landing on the moon.
You know, the Steelers have really everything that they need to know about the Patriots. It's called experience and it's called game film. Now, what they can actually do with said information remains to be seen. But it's not like they don't know this team and know them well.
So we did not get to one of our next questions. And since you've already crushed my Christmas dreams, by the way, as a grown-up child, essentially, I get Christmas presents and I love Christmas presents. I give Christmas presents.
You get them from who, though?
My wife and my family.
I said that's fine.
I get
that
toys,
is totally
though.
fine.
Like toys? Is that weird?
But like I said, I'm a low maintenance friend. I don't want to get you anything, and in turn, I don't want you to give me anything because then I feel like a jerk. I had people this year give me stuff, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think of you. I mean, I barely remember my nieces. It's like I just don't want anything from you.
So to recap, you didn't think of your friends, you barely remember your nieces, but you don't want to be a jerk. I mean, are we seeing the disconnect here?
I suck at gift giving, and I admit it, but I shouldn't have to, like, my neighbor that I've met once gave me a gift, and I was like, what in the... You definitely didn't come on to my... Like, you definitely weren't in my purview. I didn't think of gifts.
Neighbor,
and you, my neighbor.
Your neighbor just turned off the radio in disgust because he knew that guy knows who he is. That guy is like 100%. We baked cookies and took them to all of the neighbors.
Oh, you're those people.
Yeah,
that's very Nashville.
I wore a Christmas sweater while I did it. You know what? That's because I have the Christmas spirit. So where are you now that we know? And by the way, I had a fantastic Christmas and got lots of Funko Pops. So my toy collection is ever growing. Where are you on New Year's resolutions?
I don't do them.
Of course.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, so what I do is reverse psychology because everybody breaks their stuff. So I always say things like, God, I hope this year I get fired. Because the opposite always happens.
You realize the number of tweets you're about to get.
I hope you get fired, too.
Oh, you have just set
I hope
Twitter
I gained
on fire.
37 pounds because the opposite always happens with resolutions. So that's where I go.
Okay, that's fair. I'm a very determined individual, so I don't need a date to sort of reset my expectations. Like,
so you've never set a resolution?
I have in the past here and there, but I mean, I'm sort of that guy that's like, I know what I'm going to do, and I'm going to work my butt off for it, and I'm going to make my things happen.
Sure.
So, so like whether it's January 1st, like this whole, it's the first, I got to make
Here
myself.
we go.
Yeah. It says, so I don't know. My New Year's resolution this year is to maybe, get furniture in my new apartment here. That's about it. Like it's a good resolution. I think I can handle that.
Is that a resolution or is it just like a necessity? Because it kind of seems like you probably would need furniture, so something that's going to happen.
Well, I'm Progressive. Golic and Wingo presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.